Glenn, thank you so much for doing this. Let me tell you, 5 minutes isn't nearly enough to ask all the questions I've ever wanted to ask Glen Keane, but I'm going to give it a shot. There is, and I say this in a good way, something delightfully old-fashioned about the storytelling in this movie. It felt to me a little bit Disney, a little bit Don Bluth, but it had its own exciting visual palette. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how you came up with the look of Over the Moon.
Really, it was through Celine de Rameau, an amazing production designer. When we went to China, it was being there in this tiny little town, Wuzhen, which really is exactly the town that's in the movie. And it was the smell, the taste, the colors, the truth of being there. And at one point, Celine said, "Glenn, look at the white walls." And I said, "Yeah, they're white." "No, they're not white. Blue and green and yellow." And she described all the colors in there. And it was all about reflected light. China was going to be reflected light. But we needed to figure out, how do you do what Wizard of Oz did by taking you from black and white to Technicolor? What was our version of that to be? And as we thought about it, the world was reflected light, but Lunaria was source light. It came from the inside out. And I had given Celine a image from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, where the beam comes
Right.
and explodes into rainbows of colors. That's what we were doing.
Oh, God. And that's exactly what I got watching this film. Tell me this, Glenn. I mean, there's a lot about filmmaking that seems to have gotten easier over the years and even less complicated. And yet, every time we hear directors talk about animation, it feels like it's as difficult and painstaking as ever before. And in all of your time doing this, what's gotten easier and what do you wish would get a little easier?
I love to draw. I mean, that's the thing. When I was a kid, I would do a drawing, not to do a drawing, but to make the paper go away, that I could crawl in and live in the world I was drawing. I'm still like that. And in this movie, I drew more on Over the Moon that I did on Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid. Every shot, there are drawings that I did for those moments. Um, so I do that because that's like talking for me. Drawing is the way of communicating. Even with Guo Pei, who didn't speak any English and I didn't speak Chinese, we talked about costume design by drawing together. The thing that's difficult is animation has exploded and become huge. So the people you want to work with are not in your town anymore. They're in
Right.
Canada, in Spain, they're in France, they're in Holland. These are places that I worked with. And so in my office, I had a big window to the world. And on that window to the world, people would come from all those different countries. And that was, at first, it was like, wait a second, I'm used to just talking to people in the room. But that was how we started the film. And then when the pandemic hit, I got to tell you, it was a frightening moment because we had 120 animators animating. Every week was a deadline. On Thursday at 11:30 in the morning, Jenny Rim, my producer, said, "Netflix is shutting down. We have to leave." And in a half hour, everybody was gone. Haven't been back since.
Wow.
And we went to our homes, and the next day we met that deadline. The next week we hit that deadline, and we continued on. And I saw that what I at the beginning thought was, how am I going to do this with a screen on my wall, now became training for the pandemic. And the world has opened up for me. I love this idea of taking stories, telling stories from that culture back to the world. It could be any country in the world now.
I guess I had one last question, which was in crafting a story like this that is set primarily in China, what were some of the considerations that you came to realize as an American animator?
I realized that you have to actually be there in that culture to experience it. how important it is to create from the point of discovery. Like my granddaughter comes running into the house, like, you should see the lizard I just saw, and she's just exploding with energy. That's what I wanted to feel about China. So going there and having dinner in the homes of Chinese, and to live that experience, riding on the maglev train at 431 kilometers an hour, you come back, you've got to share this with the world. And I think there's great power in that when you tell a story from that place of authenticity.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Glenn, and well done on the film.
Thank you. I really enjoyed talking with you. Look forward to next time.